Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who finds his wife in a bar cheating on him with her AP. Let's see how it goes. Story 1. As a PI, my job required me to be at different locations sometimes, as long as it gives me insight into my investigation. I, 33 male, thought my soon-to-be ex-wife, 28, understood this. Every time I had brought up the issue, scared that working from home would make her notice my absence, she would remind me that we were married, not joined at the hips. True to her words, she maintained a life outside of marriage. She had friends and developed herself personally and professionally. I thought life was about to get better when she told me she was pregnant. She had gone to visit her mom but felt sick and was taken to the hospital where she discovered she was 10 weeks pregnant. She said she wanted to stay back until I was done with the hectic contract I had at hand. I agreed with her and even decided that we would get a live-in housekeeper when I return. In her condition, she needed someone to be around her. That night, there was a change in plan that got me hopping on a plane the next week to fly over to Orlando. It was for work, but I figured I could surprise my soon-to-be ex-wife by keeping it a secret until I arrived in town. By the time I collected the car I had rented and checked into a hotel, it was night. I called her several times, but she didn't pick up. I called her mother instead. Perhaps she was asleep. Her mother picked up. I asked her to check if my soon-to-be ex-wife was asleep, and she responded that she was no longer in her house. She was staying with a friend. I was annoyed. We chatted and spoke over the phone every day, yet she didn't tell me she had left her mom's. I got the address and wished her a good night's rest. She tried to pry, but I wasn't about to say a thing until after I spoke with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Using the address, I drove down to the place only to see her entering her mother's car. She was dressed provocatively. She drove away, and I followed her. We arrived at a bar, and I waited at a distance until I curbed my anger. Perhaps she was meeting up with her female friends. Being at a bar didn't mean she would take alcohol. She wouldn't do that to our baby. I went in, and in that instant, I wished I had never met her. I easily spotted her at the bar on the lap of a guy. He was trying to straw feed her a drink while she peppered kisses on his neck. Her eyes met mine, and she looked like she couldn't believe it was me. I went closer and asked her AP if I could borrow my wife. He sputtered, shocked at the news. She followed me outside, fuming that I embarrassed her. Before I could speak, she asked me if I did that because of the baby, that there was no baby. She said that to hurt me, but she didn't know how relieved it made me. I couldn't imagine divorcing her with my child in her womb. She continued ranting that I abandoned her, yelling at me that I was crazy for expecting her to stay celibate for me. She continued yelling until I walked out. The next time she heard from me was through my lawyer. She signed the divorce paper without hassle and asked that I send her clothes, but I refused. I've moved her things to the attics. If she doesn't get them out soon, she might meet them in a terrible condition. Update. Last month, she called for a meeting. It's been a year since we divorced, so I agreed to meet her out of curiosity. She looked fragile and sick. She said she has stage 4 cancer and won't survive it. I asked her why she revealed that to me, and she responded by accusing me of being happy to hear about her condition. I felt bad for her and wanted to sympathize with her, but she went on to say she's glad she cheated on me, drank, and lived her best life. So I told her I'm glad she's closer to her grave. She was about to break down in tears when I walked away, knowing that we're even. OP, your wife knew what you did for a living before marrying you. And even if she didn't, then she would have known during your marriage. She should have decided if she could live with you traveling so much for work or not. You being busy and trying to make money isn't an excuse for being disloyal in your marriage. She made a vow, she shouldn't have broken it. The way your marriage ended was amiable enough. Sadly, she's dying, but I don't understand what her plan was when she called you only to tell you she enjoyed cheating on you. Either way, I hope you're now living a good life, and that when you do go into this love thing again, you meet a loving partner. Story 2. Background. My wife, 27, and I, 28, have been together for 9 years. Started dating before college and were exclusive throughout. After college, I moved home while she finished up schooling. At the end of her last semester, she broke up with me because there was another guy that was giving her attention. 2 months later, she came back begging for forgiveness and promised nothing had transpired. 6 months later, we were living in an apartment together. About a year after that, we were married. We moved into a house last year, less than a year after getting married, thanks to the money I got from my grandmother's passing. 4 months ago, she lost her job and has not gotten another one as far as I know. After college and through her joblessness, I've been the breadwinner. I was lucky enough to have a job good enough to pay for most of our expenses, including her student loans and new car. Current. I went out of state a couple Thursdays ago for a project the company was involved in. I wasn't scheduled to be back till next Thursday. Wednesday, I got told I could go home early. I called and told my wife I'd be coming home, but I could tell that she wasn't herself and didn't seem happy to hear the news. She said she hadn't been sleeping well. I got home and she did seem tired. We relaxed for a few hours and then went to bed, where she insisted or stated that she wanted to have sex. Having been away for almost a week, I was in a giving mood and performed oral before having sex. She didn't seem that into things, and her kisses were all close-mouthed. Following day, I went to work, nothing unusual. She arrived home after me and went straight to the shower, having come from gym class. She doesn't smoke, so when I asked her why there were cigarettes in her purse, it seemed to have started a conversation she was avoiding. She told me she was unhappy and had been for a while, stated that she thought we wanted different things, mentioned that she hadn't missed me while I was away. Through it all, I was mostly silent and fuming angry, incapable of putting into words the betrayal that I was feeling. I ended up leaving in tears, and I subsequently broke down. I called my friends and ended up riding to their apartment for a few hours. After returning home around 11:30, I was angry and hurt and started searching the house out of suspicion. She had left the rings on the dresser. I started looking through her computer. There, I found through Facebook messages the log of probably 80% of what had been said between her and the guy she slept with over the previous 5 days. She stated that things were bearable while she was working, but that her time out of work was the worst in her life. She felt like she wasn't getting to do the things that she wanted to do, and felt like she was cornered and angry with the decisions that got her here. There were also a number of messages where she insisted that they should get together. Come to find out, she had spent the entirety of Wednesday evening messaging the guy and even invited him to my home for dinner. The messaging continued to the early morning and only stopped when she went to his apartment at close to 3 a.m. She didn't arrive home until after 6 p.m. Wednesday, 2 hours before I got home from the trip. They had unprotected sex and then insisted that we have sex the night I got home. A time frame of about 18 hours. I also found out through these messages that she went to his apartment when she left the house Thursday night. I saved the entire Facebook conversation to a PDF, which ended up being close to 70 pages of messages exchanged in 5 days, stored in multiple places. She came home after 1 a.m. Thursday night, Friday morning. I told her that I knew. She tried to tell me that she didn't intend for things to happen, which was a lie based on the transcript. Much angry silence followed, and she ended up staying in the guest bedroom. Friday morning, I broke the news to my parents. I suggested to her that she move out because I wasn't interested in forgiving her. She left for a few days but has since returned to the guest room. Her family found out through my parents and are devastated. Her father and I are actually still on good, though awkward terms despite all of this. I have gotten in touch with a lawyer. I've also gotten tested for STDs and HIV. Results haven't returned yet. I've moved the money that I can out of joint accounts and gotten my own. I've been working on getting my things in order to live without her, once the agreement is finished and she gets out. Once the agreement is finalized, I'll have to wait a full year before the divorce is final. I haven't spoken a word to her in the weeks since things fell apart, but we're sitting down to discuss it in person today. I'm sure that I missed some details, but that's the gist of it. Really, the only thing that I don't know or have plans for is where do I go from here? I know that I'm still fairly young, but I was never really one to go out and meet new people, and have literally no clue what I'm doing when it comes to dating as an adult. Edit. For clarity, she does not take birth control. We've used condoms since we started dating, and one was used the night I returned, so the chance for a pregnancy ploy is slim to none. Also, as some of you have pointed out, this ended up not being the first time she cheated. I found out through the transcript that she had sex with some other guy from work 4 years ago, after the breakup and reconciliation, but before we moved in together. You did the right thing getting a divorce, OP. To hear that your soon-to-be ex-wife had not only been cheating on one guy, but she has also done it before reassured me of it. Her being bored and not having a job shouldn't have pushed her to cheat. If she really was so bored, then she should have done more productive things with her time, instead of destroying her home with her infidelity. You deserve way better than her, OP. Take time to heal, then go back to the dating world. Take on hobbies and travel. Explore the big world. Don't forget to be in touch with your support system. Take care, OP. Now for some comments. I'm sorry you had to go through this, but you handled it very well. I suggest picking up a new hobby or two to fill your time and meet new friends. Something recreational like joining a running club will make you feel great, endorphin release, and get you in better shape if you're not already. Where you go from here is start enjoying hobbies again. Join a gym with group classes like CrossFit and try to make friends. Go online and casually date, knowing your mind won't be ready, but the excitement of finding people worth meeting will give you hope for the future. As for your soon-to-be ex, take it as a lesson learned that people who are quick to leave for new shiny things, attention, never really stop being like that. An ex of mine was like that too. New attention was a craving for her, and anything that wasn't perfect in our relationship was solved by daydreaming of other guys. Then they want to come crawling back when they realize that their unhappiness is with themselves. But eventually you wise up to this and move on. It took a while for me too, and repeatedly saying no to attempts to reconcile for the millionth time. You'll have that test too, I'm sure. You handled it like a straight-up boss. I'm going through a similar situation. After growing suspicious for a few days, I logged into her Facebook, password saved on browser, and caught my live-in girl in a questionable situation with another man. Did due diligence, and my assessment was accurate. Once I had the proof, my only move was to bag up her clothing and toiletries and give them to her friend. She was out of town on business. She was not allowed back. A lot of her stuff is still here, and her friend is getting a U-Haul to move it out next week. Just don't make any stupid moves. Go out like a gentleman. I haven't name-called or tried to get even. In fact, the one conversation we had about it, I told her she was a beautiful woman and hoped she would find a man to make her happy. That, of course, made her very angry, which is fine. My side of the street is clean. Yours is as well.